Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I want to do a little bit of an off the cuff, unscripted sort of thing. I'm talking about custom knives and put out some of my thoughts here. Um, my basic thought is that I've decided that I am officially done with custom knives. I'm both as a reviewer and I think by and large as a human. May break the rule and whatnot, but you know what? I've said things like this more mildly in the past. On my I had a video about the difference between custom and mid-tech and all that kind of thing. But the thing is, after that, I've been kind of like, oh, that's custom. I'm not so interested, but thank you if people offered loaners. And Ed Blade, I'm probably not going to review that. But I think it's now in a kind of an official policy here because I violated this rule twice lately, and I'm realizing that, well, there's a problem. And actually, these two were the knives that prompted this. This guy is the Peter Resenti Satori, which is an incredible freaking knife. I mean, don't get me wrong. Both of these, I'm not saying, I'm swearing off all customs because these are bad. No, these are great knives. 100 freaking percent. And so, this guy is on loan from my buddy Nico, and then this little guy is a Besta Rattle, which is a much less expensive custom knife. They come in around $300, and it's also very, very nice, but it's also very, very custom. And both of these guys sitting here trying to review them have kind of revealed my truer feelings in the matter here. The Resenti here, I mean, there is so much good about it, and I talked a fair amount about this guy during my unboxing my last terrible knife. But there is so much good here, and there is actually very, very little bad. I mean, the only real negative thing I have to say about this guy is that the flipper tab's got some sharp corners. But so it's not that. But I'm realizing that as I sit here and I try to review custom knives, they're kind of impossible to review on the channel. I've done it before, and it's worked out okay, but it's not something I love doing, and there are a couple of reasons for that of course, I'm going to talk about. I mean, first one, at least for me, is even with something in hand, I'm always kind of unsure what's next. I mean, with a big-name maker like Resenti, you're pretty sure it's going to be okay. But like this little guy, this is a relatively early knife by a relatively new maker. And frankly, I have no idea how this guy's next work is going to look. I mean, is he going to get better at it? Is he going to get worse? I suspect he'll just get better because this is pretty good. But the thing is, I just don't know. As opposed to with a knife that is full production, like a Spyderco/Bowie or something, where, by and large, they should all be about the same. And if you get one that's bad, well, make them give you one that's good. And the same thing even with I don't even know what the hell call Ferrum Forge, but these kinds of things where there are many of them made, or even the CNC based customs. But there's not quite that same degree of repeatability, so recommendations weird. Next thing is that you can't buy these knives. I mean, this knife is a one-off custom that's going to my buddy Nico after this. Thank you very much, Nico, for lending it along. And so you can't have it, no matter how good my review is. No, best thing you could do is order another Satori from Resenti, but that's a completely different beast too. And same thing with the little rattle guy. He's making other versions of them, and there are other rattles in the world, but I don't know about those, so that's kind of hard. They're also a little bit hard to review fairly because, well, the amount of effort that goes into making this by hand is very different the amount of effort that goes into making one of these guys here. I mean, that's partly reflected in the price. This is about $1,000 more than this guy is. But still, and so it's really weird. On one level, we got handmade production, and on another level, you got mostly CNC kind of stuff. Big difference there. And there's also not so much interest in the review because, well, ideally, a custom maker is always improving. One would hope that the next Resenti knife is slightly better than this one, and so forth and so forth. Same thing with the Besta guy, maybe even more strongly. As he gets more experience, they'll probably keep improving. And, honestly, even within a maker, though, there can be variance. I mean, yeah, there could be a bad/Bowie roll off the production line, but, I mean, it's very much the case that a maker could have a down month, have a lot on his mind and send something out that's a little bit ugly, and that could be a major problem. And the other thing that kind of fundamentally comes to me in terms of reviewing is that these are really expensive. I mean, $1,400 on a custom knife is completely out of the realm of possibility for 99% of the world. I mean, at this point, I can't review a $300 knife on my channel without getting 15 snarky, oh, I could never buy that, oh, what are you doing, bourgeois bastard? Whatever, I don't know, Marxists or something. Whatever. Anyways, bourgeois, really? Did I go there? But anyways, so, when I review this super high-end stuff, it's kind of academic interest to most people, and that's about it. The other thing is, though, I'm realizing that the custom world isn't that interesting to me personally, even just as a knife collector. I mean, they're great, and I've handled some customs that are really astounding, like this guy comes to mind here. But generally speaking, I think kind of handmade one-off sorts of customs just aren't my jam. I've talked about this before, but they're seldom built for disassembly, for very, decent everyday use. People aren't building custom knives, by and large, to be excellent everyday pocket tools. They're building custom knives to make art, to make sculpture, that kind of thing. They're usually seriously expensive. I mean, these guys tend to start where mid-tech and production ends. And, given that can be warped a little bit for brand new makers and relatively simple designs, but still. And very often, if you look at it relative to production knife, the value seems a little bit weird because, handmade soaks up a lot of value. It soaks up a lot of money. So, that's a thing. And not to mention, and I debated whether we'll even go here, but honestly, I feel like the custom market's got a little bit of a dark side to it. I'm not saying like Sith Lords are running around out there, and there are lots of great makers and enthusiasts. Lots of joy to be found, don't get me wrong. But there's also a lot of negativity once you go into the custom side. I mean, there is a lot of hype. Oh my God, is there a lot of hype. Once you see the Maker of the Month, and in many ways, the Grimsmo brothers are in the middle of that cycle right now. It's not on them at all. I think they're fine guys, but right now they are so super incredibly hyped that it's a little bit crazy. But those hype cycles lead to these huge, crazy bubbles where a bunch of people will pay crazy amounts of money. Like, okay, the gun, coming back to the Grimsmos, right now people are paying like 16, 17, 1800 bucks for this knife when it has a retail price of like 600 bucks. That is a huge bubble. And as soon as this bubble pops, when they stop making new Norsemen, a bunch of people are going to take a bunch of baths, and that's going to be really, really ugly. There were also a lot of people who kind of do the pump and dump Maker of the Month thing. I mean, it seems like on Instagram, every so often there's like some new maker, like everybody wants the stuff. And so, auction prices are shooting up, raffles. Oh my God, every speculator is just sniffing around it, whatever. And then suddenly people move on. And so, the people who sold their Maker of the Month stuff did okay, but everybody else is left holding the bag. Really, really ugly, and frankly, even the process of buying can be ugly, because unless you happen to win a lottery from a maker or something like that, you're going to have a bad time. There are raffles everywhere, which, okay, whatever. And, all sorts of other unpleasant things, and, the auction thing, the lottery thing, yeah, well, actually, let's just put it this way. Well-known collectors and knife retailers seem to win those disproportionately. But anyways, I'm sure lots of them are very, very honest. But the thing is, even on the secondary market, if you're just buying from some other jackass, there's often a little bit of mild dishonesty involved in there. I mean, when people buy a brand new knife and then realize, oh, crap, this isn't nearly as good as I expected it to be. And then they don't mention those weaknesses when they sell the knife. I mean, Epic Snuggle Bunny mentioned this in a video recently, talking about retail, secondary market and whatnot. And it was a great point, because you don't get a great sale price when you talk about the weak to 10th on a knife, or the poor finishing, or XYZ, all the various problems. Oh my God, did I ever learn that selling that Cody Utzler, which had major issues. Selling it and saying this knife's got major issues, you take a freaking bath. It was bad. And so you're kind of in this weird place where you're either on the hype train for the knife, oh man, it's the greatest knife ever, just selling at the, fund the grail, I can barely part with this thing, or you're being honest about what you got and taking a freaking bath. And this leads to a sort of halo effect, where the folks with really big names in the Instagram knife world, they can grow in popularity and in kind of perceived quality when it doesn't necessarily even need to be there. There are lots of really hype makers that deserve that 100%, but so many of them, it's just like, wow, wait, what? You handle their stuff, and it's like, that's kind of a disappointment. This was actually one of the biggest surprises for me at the Blade Show, because I always thought that the realm of custom knives was, the realm of just more perfect than production, and certainly it absolutely can be. But the thing is, there were surprisingly few custom knife makers, at least of the ones that I visited at Blade, who are making products that are better mechanically and in fit and finish than a ZT or a Taichung Spyderco. I mean, the Sleesh Bowie test. In order for me to be interested in the custom knife, it needs to be smoother and better finished than a Sleesh Bowie. Or then, your 452 CF. Your detent needs to be better, and your action needs to be smoother than the 452. If you can't pull that off, you can't charge me $2,000 for it. But a lot of people fail that test, and that was blowing me away. Because, I don't know, I can appreciate the challenges, certainly, of making a unique knife by hand, but in my opinion, a janky handmade or one-off knife is just not inherently better than a really well-done production knife or a CNC-made entirely knife. And especially when the price that people are charging is like double or triple or quadruple a high-end production piece, you have to be better if you want to charge those prices. Now, mind you, this is not a universally shared opinion, and if you're after a unique, one-off sort of sculpture, then by all means, awesome. But I think I have trouble moving past my view of knives as functional art. If you cannot surpass a production knife in terms of raw functionality and fit and finish and whatnot, I'm just no longer super interested in the art. In order for me to buy a knife for art, it has to be a really great knife to start with. And I should stop here because I'm not trying to paint with too broad a brush here, nor to impugn the whole custom world. I mean, there are absolutely makers out there whose work is amazing and way above the curve by any standard. And I respect the heck out of those folks. I mean, Peter Rosenti here is way right up there among those, as are some of the other folks I mentioned in my Blade Show video of the custom makers that really blew me away. Those were the folks where I picked up their knives and thought, wow, okay, this is way better than a ZT. This is way better than a Spyderco Taichung model. This is just way better than pretty much anything else I've handled around. And, I'm sure there are plenty of other people out there whose work I've never seen. But I kind of wanted to throw this section in here mostly as kind of a reminder that custom isn't actually, any jackass can make something and call it a custom knife. But making a custom knife that's really worthy of the respect and the admiration takes years and years of hard work and practice. And to get that kind of perfection down is like, that's a serious skill. It's an art. It's a mastery. And realize that you don't have to have that mastery to sell a knife. I mean, you can charge $1,400 even if you're making a piece of crap if somebody will buy it. So, I don't know. You just need to be very careful. When you're looking to buy a custom knife, especially from somebody who doesn't have like an oh my god reputation, from somebody whose books are not 10 years deep or something like that, you got to be careful there, because you can put down custom knife money and end up with something that's less than production knife quality. But that's kind of neither here nor there. But as a result of all of these various things, I mean, the fact that, there were so many customs that are a little disappointing. There's kind of the halo effect thing. I don't know, the buying process can be kind of ugly here and there, and also they're just not my style. But as a result of all of that stuff that I don't quite remember, because unscripted, I kind of decided that I'm kind of out. But the thing is, it is hard to draw a line in the sand there. I know a bunch of you guys are saying, but Nick, you got the Grimsmo right here. You love the Grimsmo. But the thing is, I don't know exactly what bugs me, where my line is, but I know that, okay, production knives are great. They're going to be my bread and butter. They are the most interesting thing to me out there, 100%, because I can review them, you can buy one, they're going to be by and large about the same. It's fine. Customized production knives can be pretty great too, like the Lamix, where they throw in a different backspace, things like that. I got no problem there. Small batch production with, maybe hand-done elements is really fine, like the Ferrum Forge here. Something like that, or my Graham Razel. These are what you would call mid-techs, generally, if you don't like people and you want to use a crappy term. So there you go. And same things, I think, with parts that are, where you get pre-made parts that are hand-fitted, and even the one-at-a-time sorts of CNC knives, like your Grimsmos, your Southards, your, some of his are entirely handmade. Many of them have been. But, those sorts of things are A-okay, because to me, in a CNC-based knife, there is a lot more consistency there than variance. It may be custom in the sense that it's being made one at a time by the maker, but it doesn't have that same sort of thing. And, honestly, I'm pretty okay with knives where the same designs are handmade over and over and over again. Things like your Willamette Customs, or, where the heck are you? You'd think I'd be prepared. These little guys, like the A2 series from Thorburn and Van Heerden, this is a great freaking knife. Going to be reviewing it one of these days. But, you know, these things are, there's a lot of room for consistency. They're doing the same design with a couple of little variations. I'm pretty okay with that. You work the bugs out, the designs are still honed, but it's custom-ish. But, like I said, though, I gotta say, the knives where one person sits down and makes a unique piece, they're really neat. And I respect the heck out of it. And when they're done really well, it's like, oh my God, this is great. But I'm not so interested in them for me. I mean, sure, I got a couple of more reviews in the pipeline, 100%, and who knows, I might violate this rule if the spirit really takes me. There is a design I'm in love with and I want to pick one up, I'll probably break it. I'm not a strong man, we know this. But at the same time, though, just trying to review these guys revealed that for whatever reason, that just doesn't do it for me. That's not my scene. So I guess I just got to follow my bliss here. Luckily, though, there were a ton of channels out there that specialize in high-end custom knives out there. I mean, Skelton, back when he was making more videos than knives, spent a lot of time there. I'm trying to remember who else. If you've got a favorite custom knife channel, put it down in the comments for people who are watching this later on. But, there are plenty of other places to get your custom fix, but I think I'm going to be trying to stick to those sorts of, this side of the table more. Production stuff, mid-techy stuff, and the CNC sorts of customs. Those are most interesting to me. And the more handmade stuff, and especially on the higher end, I think I'm probably just going to skip in the future. So there you go. I mean, what are your feelings on this? Are you a custom person? Do you want to go that route? Or have you, been like me and you've gone to the custom and come back home? Kind of what's your story? Let me know in the comments here. Chime in. But anyways, I hope this was interesting. It feels a little unorganized, but nonetheless, and in case you're ever wondering, hey, where's the review of that Resenti? I think this is about the closest you're going to get. Really nice knife. Nice knife, too. But anyways, hope this is interesting, and have yourselves an absolutely wonderful and just custom for you rest of your day. Bye now.